Please take a quick second and sign into the note sheet. Let's go ahead and get started. First up, could I get a designated note taker for today's meeting?
I'm happy to do it.
Oh, all right, thank you very much. Taking a quick look, I don't see any new faces. Looks like a pretty usual core, so we'll go ahead and we'll jump right into the outstanding RFCs. Like I said, not a lot has changed here, so this will probably be pretty quick. Start with decoupled dependencies RFC. I still haven't had any opportunity to work on this. I've been getting bogged down with other work. My hope is to have some time later this week to dive in and try and get something useful out of this and try and get this back on track and back into discussion. But we'll see how that goes. Busy time of year. This is the proposal for published multi-arch build packs is still a draft. Jericho, do you have any updates that you'd like to give on this? Are we good? All right, perfect. And then we have the proposal to introduce new Graal VM. The last update that we heard about this was from Anthony last week, and he was saying that there was some discussion happening within Oracle. It looks like there is an update here. So anyone who's invested in that, please feel free to take a look. Anthony, do you have any updates you want to give on that?
Yeah, it's a small one though. But yeah, you're right. There have been some activity from Fabio from Oracle. But from a legal standpoint, I got people from the core Spring team who are asking me to get in touch with legal from Cloud Foundry. So actually make sure that everything was, was proper, basically. So I contacted Ram from the Cloud Foundry Foundation, the developer advocate, and he told me that he was going to reach out to some people from what did he tell me? Linux Foundation. Yeah, he told me that Linux Foundation was handling legal stuff for Cloud Foundry. So I didn't get any news from him since then. I think it was yesterday morning actually. So yeah, that's kind of blocked with talking about merging anything, because maybe you have seen that there is a tentative from Daniel, as you can see, add Oracle GraalVM. So this, yep, exactly, yeah, this one. So I was just saying, there was some discussion if this thing could be merged as is. And right now, yeah, we just want to make sure that that everything is fine from a legal standpoint. So
that's fair. That makes sense.
okay, cool.
Jan, I just saw that you joined. I basically pretty quickly glossed over this decoupled dependencies because I have not really had any time to work on it as of recent. Do you have any updates or anything that you'd like to talk about on that?
No, not really. I was on vacation for 3 weeks, so I didn't have any time either.
Well, I would have hoped that you wouldn't have been thinking about it while on vacation, to be perfectly honest.
Not a second.
Oh, good. I appreciate the dedication to the lack of dedication. I think that brings us to the end of our currently open RFCs. Unless anyone has any questions or comments. Awesome. In that case, then CNB updates and questions. I mentioned this last week. I might have. The only relevant update that I can think of from the CMB front is that Pack 30, 0.30 came out. It has official support for a couple of platform life cycles that the previous version didn't have. So if you were trying to do things like embed like runtime environment variables into the builder by like mounting a there's a process, but effectively, if you're making a builder and you've added the new sort of layer that allows you to have sort of builder specific runtime params, I believe that will now work on Pack, although I haven't used that feature yet. It also has with the, I guess the lifecycle support's kind of like independent from that, but Flatten is now fully out as well as part of this. Which is something that could be interesting to look into.
But also new Paketo default builders, I think. Well, integrated builders.
Thank you. All of the default, or not default, the suggested builders inside of Pack
suggested. Yeah,
were updated to include all of the new Paketo Jammy builders, including, I believe, the static builder, if I recall correctly.
And if I'm not mistaken, then this Pack version and the 017 lifecycle also has now like all the extension stuff in an experimental state.
Yeah.
So even run image extensions should now be something people can start exploring.
There was
interesting for the UBI colleagues.
Yeah, definitely. There were some fixes and some stuff in there that helped us out for sure. And that, like, the builder, our initial builder was updated to use 30 and 17, which was good.
On the topic of extensions, this is kind of almost a sidebar, but the a team from CNB, mostly around Heroku, came to our working group a couple weeks ago, and they were having they had a lot of questions about how we were using extensions, especially when it came to like what extensions like imply, or the implications of extensions on the ability to rebase. I informed them that I was not the most intimate when it came to using extensions in general, because I haven't been pursuing any of that work. I did drop your name, Michael, at one point, but if you have any feedback or opinions on extensions, I think that it's very much in a state where it was like plastic and very general, and they aren't necessarily opposed to moving it to be a bit more concrete in terms of some of its definitions and features. So if that's something you're interested in, they've been talking about removing stacks and extensions in the last 4 or 5 CMB working group meetings.
Okay. Yeah, I think I checked with, I couldn't make the last one, but I did check with Ozzy, who said he was going to make that. And like, in terms of the rebasing, I think the original support for extensions, because the like the run image was simply you couldn't provide anything in your Docker file. So that supported actually having rebases be done. I think there's some new functionality that's being worked on that I hear through Ozzy that would allow you to extend that, but then you would lose that rebasability or easy rebasability part.
I think their fear, if I remember correctly, Forrest, their fear was about rebasing taking forever because nothing would be recognized and cached, basically. So that was what they were afraid of.
Okay.
Yeah, their biggest fear is that like extensions are used at such a high level of proliferation that effectively makes rebasing impossible. And so like, rebasing is a big, I guess, it is a big feature of CNBs. And so like if there's like, I guess, a feature that they've introduced that hasn't been defined well enough, to cause like a huge impact on rebasing, they would like to understand that more.
Okay, I'll catch up with Ozzy just to see, make sure. I think he's been attending those, so I don't think we both need to go, but I'll make sure I keep up to date with him.
Yeah, I name dropped both you and Ozzy, and they were like, "Yes, Ozzy's been coming to those meetings." So I think we're
Sounds good. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I'm happy if they have questions to answer them, and I think he should be at the meeting. So
that's all I can think about when it comes to CMB updates. I believe that they'll probably. I was not able to attend the last CMB working group meeting. I'll hopefully be at this one that's coming up. So yeah. Are there any project updates that people would like to give? Michael, I'm gonna probably take a look and see if I can try and cut another release of the UBI builder, the base builder today. Now that the builder toml and stuff has been updated with the newest pack versions.
right, so we won't have the going backwards too far. Yeah, okay. No, that
Yeah.
thanks. That's good.
Yeah,
I
I'll
do
see.
have a.
Go
Sorry, go ahead. No, that's good. And I know I have a few things I need to get to in terms of some of the other projects. Like there's at least one that was being updated that I think we agreed I should just turn off, and bit of sort of housekeeping stuff like that we need to do, and then we'll start to get back to some of the other work.
Yeah, but hopefully I will be able to at least get a one-off release out so that we can continue to use that.
Yep, no, that's great. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. All right, it doesn't sound like there's any other project updates. So we can move to open mic discussion topics. And container registry is going away. Sorry.
That's fine. So I'll just give the context. So I'm working on creating multi-arch stacks, and it's failing to push the multi-arch stack to GCR. And I need to do a little bit more testing, but it sounds like that's the problem. It's that this is there. Some of the features in the new Google artifact registry aren't supported in GCR. So I don't know that we're going to be able to get around this. So after I do my testing, I just wanted to bring this up here. Just gonna have to push to pkg.dev. Whatever. It's like the new version of Google Container Registry. So anyways, I mean, I feel like it's kind of a can of worms, and I just wanted to put it out there so that you guys are aware. And yeah, I'm literally doing some testing after this call just to see if that solves the problem. But if it does, then somebody will have to address this.
So I guess the only question I have around this is like, do we want to continue to push to a registry that is hosted by Google? I know that there's advantages to us having like proxy registries to reference, because for some people it makes downloading more acceptable. I don't know that that's the word I wanted, but it's the word that came out of my head. So do we want to continue to push to Google, or is this like a sign for us to just cut off our support for Google related registries and just only focus on our community Docker hub?
Yeah, so just to make sure, Jericho, you said that Google, I mean GCR.io does not support multi-arch images.
Multi-arch OCI manifests or index images.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Wow. That sucks. Okay. Well, this is bad. I believe, because this is definitely where we want to go. Also, on the other hand, what I wanted to mention deprecating GCR.io is that with regard to Docker hubs, I mean, it's not. I definitely didn't do a scientific study, but people around me, ex-colleagues, friends, and so on, they regularly tell me, "Oh, I couldn't download Paketo Buildpacks," and then I say, "Oh yeah, did you download from your own IP or did you go through a CI machine? Oh yeah, you're right. It's working from my machine, but not from the CI and blah blah. Anyways, you know that Docker Hub has been applying IP rate limiting, basically. I mean, download limiting per IP. And it kind of sucks because, I mean, when we were on GCR, I guess nobody complained about that, right? So basically, we got ourselves in a situation where, yeah, sure, Docker Hub is, you know, the place to be somehow, but this rate limiting thing is, I believe, is bothering many of our users. Once again, I didn't do a full study, but from what I've heard so far, that I mean, that can create friction. And oftentimes, what I would reply to those friends is, well, you know what? We also publish to gcr.io, just try it out there. So, anyways, I like the idea of having several places we push our images to. It's kind of nice, I think, for our users.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's possible that we can just push to the pkg.dev URL and start using. I don't know this yet. I need to do some testing that it actually solves the problem, but I think it will, because I found other I found like discussions in other people's repos where they hit the same error that I saw, and it seemed to be the solution. So I'm not saying stop pushing to Google Container Registry. You can kind of push wherever you want. I do think it's probably smart to have more than one place, but yeah, let me kind of like finish the investigation or whatever. But once I do, then you'll have the decision to make on how you guys will move forward. So I just wanted to put it out there so you have some time to think about it and decide how you want to proceed.
Yeah, I think just to be clear, I'm not encouraging us to abandon a Google hosted registry. I just figured I would throw it out there. Like, if we're gonna have to do some form of transition, maybe that's not the transition we want to make. But if it's, yeah, I think it's totally fair for us to, if it's just as easy as pointing to a different like registry, like URL basically, then I don't know that I would be opposed to continue just kind of keeping things the same.
Yeah, I mean, the only challenge I have is like your registry, your repo exists and it's clearly been there for a while. So like I'm gonna go and create a new one and push to it, and I'll clearly be using the new artifact registry. So I don't have a way to simulate the transition, the migration from like GCR to the new one. So that's a part that I'm not sure I can really vet before you move forward. So somebody might have to help with that.
That'll be good though.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I think just a plus one what Anthony and Forrest said, like I definitely get feedback from folks inside of VMware that like Docker, not only does Docker have a rate limit, but it's so bad that you can't even set up a CI to mirror to your own like internal registry. So it's like you don't even have the ability to like get yourself out of the whole of Docker Hub. So I think if we were to like only use Docker Hub, we would very rapidly get a lot of feedback that it's unusable. So again, it's not a scientific study, but I do have probably like order of 10 examples of people telling me that that was a problem for stacks in particular, and builders. The other thing I was going to say, and I think really, Forrest, this is kind of on you, right? Like as a steering committee person, is I think you are the steering committee are the only people that have the ability to actually try out this migration path, right? Like I don't think the rest of us have the ability to just go muck around with our GCR accounts. So separately from like Jericho's investigation of pushing to a new artifact registry, it sounds like if we want to maintain any support or backwards compatibility with a GCR IO hostname, that we're going to have to do some exploration and migration there anyway, right? Even if we weren't doing multi-arch stuff. This has come up because multi-arch is like a forcing function, but even if we didn't have that, we're still going to either have to decide to migrate or drop it. If we're not going to drop it, we have to migrate. If we have to migrate, I think a steering committee person has to like spike on this, right?
But for what it's worth, I would probably continue to double publish stuff until Google actually removes and makes the GCRIO links dysfunctional, which is like where then that's just going to happen, right? I mean, for what it's worth, we even have GCR.io links on a lot of Buildpack readmes, so we are still kind of advertising this. I've just quickly looked up. We actually consume from GCR.io or at the SAP side to get the component Buildpacks. Well, it's even more funny. We do it from a proxy of GCR.io, so we have some internal artifactory, but whatever.
Yeah, that's exactly.
We should definitely kind of keep this. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I was just kind of reading that thing that you when you were sharing the screen, Forrest. I hadn't seen this beforehand, but it kind of sounded like there's a call to action from Google's side to us, which is that we need to experiment with like ensuring our existing automation will push to a package, so artifact registry, whatever it's called, package artifact registry, whatever the word is, like, but using the GCR.io host name. And I think that's the thing that like no one else will do for us. So, and I think that has to be like a steering committee person. And I think like it's prudent to do that sooner rather than later. It sounds like we have about 9 months, maybe a bit less, right? It said like May 2024 was when they're deprecating, or sorry, removing GCR. So what is it, August? Like, it's like 8 months. So it sounds like we should do that sooner rather than later.
For what it's worth, I think Google should have the infrastructure to actually set up a service account so we can, that's maybe something the steering committee has to do, but then we can actually hand over something where engineers can start trying out things. I mean, it's anyway mostly about some new location, which probably should actually start as something that where you can kind of already see this is not meant to be, like some testing ground, whatever thing, and then handing out credentials for that doesn't sound to be a problem at all.
Yeah, I have one follow-up question for the Stacks release that failed because of this. I guess I just want to make sure I'm helpful. If like I'm going to do this, test it, and then allow the steering committee to decide how they want to move forward. But then after that, do you plan to not publish to GCR and publish to Docker Hub, or just not do the release for now? Like, I just want to make sure I'm helping and staying out of the way and not bothering you guys if we're going to wait.
Yeah, right. Like that was going to be the other topic, is like specifically to this like work that you're doing. It kind of seems like we have to be careful because we might put ourselves in a really sticky situation. I want to continue to ship the existing surface area of stacks to the existing surface area of registries, right? So that is to say AMD64 stacks on Docker Hub and GCR.io. Like, I think we've made that commitment to the community. I think we have to continue to support that even as we iterate on this new feature. That unfortunately sounds like it might mean that the new feature has to be sort of like modified in a way that we make like 2 copies of the stacks, one that's multi-arch and can go to this like testing environment, and one that's not multi-arch and can continue to be published to GCR. Like, that sucks. If that's the case, that's annoying, but I think that's the commitment we've made, right? The alternative is like we stop publishing to GCR with no notice, not going to work for the reasons we mentioned before, or we just abandon multi-arch until we have a better plan, which doesn't really satisfy your use case and kind of takes us back to where we were 3 months ago. So I think it unfortunately sounds like we have to go down that path of kind of both, right?
Yeah, actually, there is a potential workaround. I suspect it would support Docker manifests. So you could have like the script that publishes the stuff, like just publish to Docker Hub, and then have another little function that will convert the OCI image to a Docker manifest and then push that. I mean, like, I know how to do that. If you guys want to do something like that, there's some options, but we don't need to figure it out on this call. I just wanted to kind of like throw this out there.
Sounds great. Is there anything else people would like to discuss? All right. I think that will conclude this working group meeting then. See y'all.
See ya.
Bye-bye.